The Nielsen numbers are here for the race swamp, The Little Mermaid, and they are far lower than previous movie releases on Disney Plus, such as Encanto and Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Let's get into this here. According to Nielsen, The Little Mermaid racked up 1.3 billion minutes viewed, which was good for fourth spot on Nielsen's overall chart for the week of September 4 through 10. The film was best by Suits, Virgin River, and One Piece. It did beat out Bluey, which has been the dominant program on Disney Plus. You can see it right there in fourth, screenshot there of the Nielsen overall streaming ratings for the week of September 4 to September 10. However, when you look at other previous releases from the Walt Disney Company, it pales in comparison to their viewership. X-User, now it's known, notes that the film attracted 895 million minutes less than Black Panther: Wakanda Forever when it arrived on Disney Plus during the week of January 30 to February 5, 2023. It's a little bit hard to see here, but it's like 2.2 billion minutes for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever in its first week on Disney Plus. The Little Mermaid also performed worse than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 when it first arrived on Disney Plus. Spoiler TV, which tracks Nielsen's numbers every week, notes that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 racked up 1.625 billion minutes when it first arrived on Disney Plus. The film was completely slaughtered by Encanto. When Encanto first arrived on Christmas Eve 2021, Nielsen reported it only brought in 407 million minutes. However, it was Christmas week, and the week ended on like the 26th, so it was only really 2 days, and people probably just weren't watching Disney Plus on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. But by its second week on the chart, it had racked up 2.198 billion minutes. The film quickly became a hit on Disney Plus, racking up over 1 billion minutes each week for the next 7 weeks. It would pull over half a billion minutes each week until the middle of April 2022. Definitely a big hit. Encanto was on Disney Plus. These Nielsen numbers. Let's actually, before we get into that here too, Mac also has some more information here over on X. He says, even though The Little Mermaid has a longer runtime, its numbers were edged out by a couple other Disney Plus premieres. The Little Mermaid, he kind of cites the runtimes here, but you can see here Thor: Love and Thunder did 1.5 billion minutes when it first came out. Back in, I don't know if we have a date there, but when it first came out on Disney Plus. And then you have Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness barely edging out Little Mermaid with 1.4 billion minutes. But he does note, and he notes properly here, that Little Mermaid actually has a longer runtime than both of those films as well. So Marvel movies were definitely outperforming The Little Mermaid. And those two outperforming it isn't really a surprise. Guardians of the Galaxy outperforming it isn't really a surprise either, because they did indeed have higher box office too. There was higher interest in that. But let's get back to the article here, because I do think it's really interesting. These Nielsen numbers come just after a new report revealed that the Walt Disney Company's production budget for the film was much greater than the initial estimate of $250 million reported by Variety. Forbes' Carolyn Reed reported the film's budget swelled to nearly $300 million by the end of August last year, 8 months before the movie opened. Reed's report is based off of filings in the UK, where she discovered that the Walt Disney Company subsidiary, Sandcastle Pictures, was funding the project. In the Sandcastle Pictures filings, they show that Disney received a roughly £46.6 million tax rebate, which converts to roughly around $56.8 million. That means the net budget would decline to $248.2 million. However, that net estimate might actually be low, given our calculations appear to not factor in any kind of currency exchange or inflation, given the costs for the Little Mermaid's production go back to 2019. And as we've seen over the past couple of years, inflation has been absolutely insane. On top of that, it's possible another report could also come in, adding additional costs, given the last report was from August 2022, and the film did not arrive in theaters until May 2023. Reed does note that this filing does not include other post-production costs, which can range in the tens of millions of dollars. So, financial analyst Valiant Renegade speculated that the total cost for The Little Mermaid is likely around $350 million, and I think that's just, he's talking total cost there. He says, we can pretty much expect that the total spend on production is going to get somewhere around the $350 million range once these latter tax returns come in the next several months to a year. He went on and said, if you're talking about a movie where Disney is going to spend outright $350 million on and then spend another $125 plus million to market that $350 million production, now you're at $475 million, possibly approaching $500 million to both produce and market a film of this scale. Then we throw in the tax credit from the UK, right now currently standing at around $60 million. It was at 58.6, right? He rounded up. Let's say that gets up to 65 million, maybe 70 million by the next return. So that means the net cost of Disney is still going to be somewhere around 400 million or more, possibly up to 425 million. So if you've got 280 coming back in, you can see the issue here. And he's kind of basically dividing. You just cut the box office grosses in half, because half usually goes to the theaters. The other half comes back to the studio. And so they did like 580 million or something like that. we're still looking at loss for the Walt Disney Company for the Little Mermaid of somewhere in the neighborhood of about 120 to 150 million dollars. And it doesn't look like people are really subscribing to the Little Mermaid on Disney Plus to watch it, at least to the extent of other films. Obviously, it got a really big play in this first week. We'll see what happens in the second week. And if people are kind of just one and done, you watch it and then you move on and you're not watching it again. But it's just not looking good for the Little Mermaid. People just weren't really interested in this. And that is obviously because they decided to go with the woke agenda. And basically decided to throw away all the goodwill they had built up from the 1989 classic animated film and remake it in the new woke Disney vision.
Subscribe for more.